Hello, dear students. Welcome to another interview with a company secretary. Today, we are joined by Arjun Makhecha, who is a company secretary, and his qualification is Bachelor's of Commerce, that is BCom. Then he's done his law, and also, very interestingly, he has done his Bachelor's or Master's in Maritime Economics from Netherlands. And obviously, Arjun is a company secretary from the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. Hello, Arjun, and welcome to our interview show.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alok, and wishing all your viewers a very happy new year. First of all, in like advance, and wishing them the best in their academic pursuits and their professional pursuits.
Yeah. So, Arjun, we are very happy that you have given us your time. And this is the students who want to know more about the company secretaries and their journey of right from their days of a student to what they're doing now. So,
So,
initially, before we go back to your student days, we
yeah,
can start by like currently, where do you work and what's your designation? We can start with something simple.
sure, Alok. So it's my pleasure to be here, and currently I'm with Biocon Biologics Limited, which is a group company of Biocon Limited. I am manager legal over there, and I look into corporate secretarial compliance. So yeah, that's the current role.
Great. So the Mr. Arjun is a part of Biocon, one of the very famous companies in India. And as he told that he has a very responsible role, he told in his brief designation. But before we go more into his work, because just like you and me, Arjun also started out as a student in the company secretary course. So first thing is, how did you take up this course? When was the first time you heard there's something called a CS, and what motivated you to take up this?
Yeah, so I think the whole interest started when I was doing my bachelor's in commerce, and we knew that a bachelor's degree is not enough. So we need to specialize in something further to get a good career growth. So there were various options before me, like chartered accountancy, cost and works accountancy, company secretaryship, or maybe doing an MBA as well. But when I went through the curriculum of all of these courses, I just was interested in company secretaryship because of the diverse corporate laws it deals with, the depth of the subject, and just being a person who can become, a kind of a specialist in this field is what I thought would take me far and would be good for my career. So that was the whole reason. So it's basically the corporate law aspect which kind of excited me.
Yeah. So corporate law is what excited you, and
Yeah,
that's when you took up company secretary course.
absolutely. Yeah.
But like they say, especially for a professional course, it's very easy to take, but quite challenging to complete it. So how was
Yes.
your journey for being a student of the CS course?
Yeah, it was, let's just say it was, I'm sure, like anyone who like enters this finds everything new at first. Like, it is different, and it is not probably what one is used to in their bachelor's and everything, because it needs a very different approach. It needs more focus, more dedication. So, uh, maybe one thing which worked was that I was ready for it. So that is something which like helped me. But initially, it was a bit challenging. But then I think once you get into it and once you keep your focus, then you're able to manage the studies and the exams and writing the various papers which are required. I don't quite recollect, but
Yeah.
there are certain papers which one needs to write on a regular basis to write the exams,
Correct.
the answer scripts and everything.
So
So
what do you say right now, looking back at the syllabus and the entire curriculum, now that you've been in different corporates and it's been almost a decade into corporate life as a CS,
yeah,
how do you say is the curriculum and how does it prepare you?
absolutely well. Absolutely well. I mean, the company law subject in the executive program and the professional program, I mean, what you learn is pretty much what you're going to apply in your professional course. And I can say that the study material of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India is really good. And there are times I still sometimes refer to it to get some guidance with respect to my professional work as of now. Uh, so I think that it is extremely important to take your studies seriously, not only from an examination point of view, but even from a practical point of view, because this is pretty much what you learn is pretty much what you will require for your professional life. So it's
Exactly.
good to be good with it. That's my suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting because most students feel that there's a disconnect between what they study and what actually happens in the corporate world. But we are happy that even now, sometimes you're saying that there are sometimes you look into the ICSI
Absolutely.
material and it helps you.
Absolutely, I do. It's a very good study material, and the best thing is it is updated very frequently,
Yeah.
and it's free to down, and it's also free to download. So,
So if I was a tabloid, I would say a company secretary in
yeah,
Biocon refers ICSI study material.
yeah,
Anyway,
they've done some. I think they've really gone in depth, and it's prepared really well. So it's a good reference material to start with. But of course, once you're in professional life, you will look into
correct.
various other materials for reference and everything. But if you need a quick guide, it helps. To a
Yeah,
certain
yeah.
extent, it does help. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think thanks for sharing that
Yeah.
experience. So going further, Arjun, like how was your training days? And again, what do you have to say about training and the exam? Is it correlated? And how did you find it?
Yeah. So I did my training with a practicing company secretary firm in Bangalore, one of the very reputed firms, and it was a very good experience for me because the kind of learning one gets while doing things practically is little different when one just reads a book. So when you apply the law to various matters that you're dealing with, the kind of understanding you have is very different from then just reading it. Um, so it was challenging because as a student you have to balance both your internship as well as the studies.
Exams.
And I was very fortunate to have a company secretary, the firm where they were mindful of the requirements of a student and the time which is required to prepare. So I did get sufficient leave and everything for preparing for the exams. But that training serves you very well. It serves you well for your next step as a company secretary or part of a corporate secretarial team, wherever one would go. But it serves you really well. And in fact, there were certain instances I recollect that some of the work which I had done practically in my like internship days, there were a couple of questions which came up in the company law exam, which I was able to answer that purely because I had dealt with that matter. So it is like you need to ensure you are studying, you are just not doing work. You need to find the right balance. It helps, but it helps, and then it's on one's appetite to be honest, like what they would want to do, whether do they want to study and as well as do the internship, or just pass the exams first and then do the internship. It's left to one's choice, but I think there are pros and cons to both, and yeah, I think both are doable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But also now, I think ICSI is coming out with some policies where you have to do the internship along with your studies. But of course,
Okay.
the that effective date is not at there. But earlier we had the choice. In fact, I was Arjun's co-trainee, and I should say even I learned a lot, not only from the firm but also from Arjun. As a side note, I just wanted to add that. Um, anyway, now that you told that how important training is and it's integral part of the entire course, um, how did you feel when you first cleared CS? Like how was that feeling, because it's quite a long journey from the time we
It's
start.
yeah, it's a sense of satisfaction more than anything. It's like, see, this is one course you are not going to pass by luck. You have to really put in your hard work,
True.
and it's a professional exam, so it requires a particular standard of quality from the person writing the exam. So once you pass through that, you do feel that yes, I am a professional. I am a person who is now a member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. So one of the only three professional bodies in India. So that sense of satisfaction is there, confidence, and you feel good. It's a feel good factor to pass through one of these bodies. Yeah.
Yeah, I think really happy that you shared that, because more often than not, especially during the time of being a student, I think most of our audience also, they get caught up with small things like exam or the ICSA didn't do this or smaller things like that. But end of the day, like you put, you're joining a very exclusive club. That is, there are three professional bodies, and you're becoming a member of one of the professional bodies, and so basically you're in a very exclusive and amazing club. And I am sure that all of you who are watching this also will be inspired that you want to be part of this club or this ICSI very soon. So Arjun, can you please share with us that once you finished your training and you became a member, and like you said you were very satisfied, how did you foresee your career, and where did you start off?
So once I qualified, I was working with again practicing company secretary firm in Bangalore, one of the reputed firms, and I had been with that firm with my training as well. So a few years I spent with them after qualifying. But then I wanted to enter the corporate field because I wanted to experience
Okay.
that that kind of a setup as well. So I joined a listed entity after my PCS days
Okay.
by the name Subex Limited. I was with them for around 4.5 years. Then
Okay.
I did pursue an executive education program after that, and I returned and I rejoined them. And after that, I joined Biocon Biologics Group.
Yeah.
So
So I would just like to take you to probably the primary differences between being a part of a PCS firm, like the role will be more like a manager or an associate in that firm, to what you did at Subex, which is a listed company. How different were your roles? And since you had both the experience, it will be very interesting
So
to share.
yeah. So I think the application is the same. I mean, there is no really difference. The work is the same. You need to apply the law. You need to ensure that all the compliance requirements are met. So with that respect, everything is pretty much same. I wouldn't say there was much difference. I think it's just stakeholder management at the end of the day.
Yeah.
When you're in a firm, you need to balance different type of stakeholders like your clients and maybe some of the government bodies that you liaise
Regulators.
with the regulatory authorities as well. In a corporate setup, it's different. Your stakeholders are your like other departments within the organization. You're closer to the board of directors, so managing the board and yeah, pretty much your other colleagues and everything. So I think there's not much difference when it comes to the application of the law. It's more to do with the stakeholder management. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that also brings us to the point, like, how did you decide that you should start with a PCS firm and not directly dive into the corporate world? Of course, it's very
Yeah.
individualist, like each one has a different perspective, but what was yours?
So my intention was to get a good, vibrant, to have a vibrant work, uh, diverse assignments and things like that. And I thought that only a PCS firm would be able to offer that. So that was the whole thinking behind going for a PCS firm initially in my training days and everything. And that is true because a PCS firm deals with a wide range of assignments. I mean, you just can't imagine the kind of work one
Mm.
can expect in a PCS environment. And I thought at that point of time that corporate, working into a corporate immediately, maybe I would have just like one type of work and I would be stuck with that. But that was the thinking at that time, like when I was a student. So that was the reason why I chose to work with a
Exactly.
PCS firm to get hands on with as many type of assignments as I
Okay.
could. Yeah.
One is you shared, there are different kinds of assignments, and also if you just see the sheer number of clients, you're dealing with anywhere between 100 to 200 clients in any average
Absolutely.
PCS firm, and especially with a good PCS firm, sometimes it can be even more. And whether it is listed companies or you're working with law firms, you're working with CA firms, working with private entities, public unlisted companies, directors, there's a huge gamut of clients. So I think
Absolutely.
that's an interesting point. But while you were speaking, you also said that as a student, you felt that in the corporate, you'll be doing one kind of work. But now that you have been in the corporate for
Yeah.
like 6, 7 years or a little more than that,
Yeah.
how is that? I'm
So
sure
yeah,
you
yeah.
were wrong.
So I think once again, it's you can get a diverse type of work even in a corporate setup. Maybe that's something which I realized once I entered the corporate field. Uh, but once again, it's like it depends on the type of company that you have joined. Like if it is a company which is like, say for example, quite stable, they are well established,
Yeah.
and they are in that journey where they have a good strong hold in the market and they're doing well, then one would pretty much deal with the same matters maybe. But then if it is a company which is in the growth curve, and they are going through various type of transactions like mergers and amalgamations and other type of corporate restructuring, or like investments and things like that, then it's a little more exciting. I think you can get hands on with many other type of work like this. And of course, if it's a company which is on the course to get listed, then that's again a different thing as well, and something very good to get involved with. Learn a lot of learnings over there. So I think it depends. It's also on one's appetite. If one wants something which is challenging, they would like to join a company which is, where they are pretty much on the move and a lot of things are happening. Then you can really get nice, diverse type of work. Uh, it depends on one's appetite, but corporate can be exciting as well. Just to answer your question, Alok, corporate can be exciting. I think you just need to choose the right company which works for you, and the kind of assignments you think you can get your hands on.
Mhm.
You can have your hands full in corporate as well.
Yeah. So I think that brings me to the next question. Like,
Yeah.
how do the board of directors or the management treat company secretaries? What is the kind of respect they get? What do they expect from the CS? This is one thing which many
Yeah.
students don't know.
The expectation is very high from day one, and I think this is one of those very few courses which takes you very close to the board from day one.
Yeah.
uh, the expectation is really high because all the documents you are working on, like say for example the agenda papers for the board meetings or the shareholders meetings, the minutes of the meetings and various other documents have to be precise, have to be as per law, has to be properly drafted, because these the at the end of the day we are protecting the interests of the board of directors, we are protecting the interests of the company, we are protecting the company's reputation, so it has to be perfect. There's no scope to go wrong here, because consequences can be quite dire. And with Companies Act, I mean, with the new Companies Act 2013 as compared to 1956, the penalties are much higher for with respect to the offenses.
True.
One really has to, uh, you know, what do you say? Be responsible, be well read, and
Deliver on time.
deliver and do a good job like instantly upon joining. So
So
the
as you were
expectation is very
speaking,
high. Just to answer your question, yeah,
yeah, right. So as you were speaking, you said that this is one of the few professions where you're directly on your day one, you're very close to the board of
yeah,
directors or the management.
yeah,
In fact, it is almost like you're springboarded directly into the management from day
true,
one.
Very
Uh,
true. Yeah.
so, what is expected in terms of the board meetings and the AGM? What is your role and how challenging is it, especially since you've worked in listed companies?
Yeah, it is challenging because we typically have four minimum board meetings in a year, once every quarter. But of course, those are just the bare minimum. There are things which keeps coming up in between. So I think the most important thing is to ensure that your like agenda papers are sorted out and they are accurate and they capture everything which the board requires to consider and to resolve. Uh, Board don't have time. They just have a very limited period of time to discuss on matters. So the background of the matter which you need to prepare has to be sufficient for them to understand what is the matter which they need to approve and apprise them totally, and like help them to analyze and to approve or to disapprove. So a lot of thought goes into that. You need to really engage with your other departments within the organization, the finance team, the legal team, the business team, the commercial team. It depends on the industry that you're working in, but you need to coordinate with these guys, like understand the matter on hand, draft the background, draft the resolution as per the Companies Act, like as per the requirements of the Companies Act, table it before the board, and then also undertake the proceedings of the meetings of the board. So the board is pretty much dependent on the company secretary for the proceedings of the board, because it's the company secretary who would take
Know
the
the
board through the
procedures and
proceedings
convene.
and everything. Absolutely. So you need to really know the matter on hand, apprise the board, guide them through it, and ensure that whatever matter is there on hand, which is important for the company, the board finds it fit to approve it. So it's really a lot of work, effort, time which goes into this. But I think once you do it, it is you do feel satisfied that you've been in involved in a process which has brought to a certain decision, and few things which has been approved. The company moves forward with that, and then you know that you're part of the process to keep the company moving forward.
Right. Yeah. So as you were speaking, you said that there's also a lot of documentation which they depend on you. That is, the directors and the management depend on you, and you have to really know your stuff. So, of course, it sounds very exciting and challenging, and you're in the top management from day one. But you said about coordinating with other departments.
Yeah.
You were talking about that.
Yeah.
So, what is the role of CSR? Is it just the role of compiling data from different departments, or like, can you be a little more
No,
specific?
it's not just about, yeah, it's not about compiling. Like say, for example, as for the Provisional Companies Act, you have certain related party transactions which are required to be placed before the audit committee and the board
True.
for its approval. So it's a company secretary's job to know what needs to be approved by the board, what does not. So we need to play the role of a counsel over there and get the relevant information. It's just not a job of getting all information, but the relevant information from the departments. And we need to kind of, discuss with the other departments that this is what is required from you, this is why it is required, and get that information, ensure it is accurate, and then place it before the committee and the board. So that role you can only play if you know the law. Only if you know the law well will you be able to get the right information from the various departments and place it before the board.
Exactly. I'm really happy you shared your experience, because I asked this specifically because lot of students have a very wrong notion that CS role is some parts are very clerical and things like that. But like Arjun shared, it is more about the law, and you should be an expert in corporate law. And of course, in every job, there are few things where you may feel it's clerical, but that is part of every kind of job, not just the CS job. But since you're dealing with different departments, there's very high respect in the corporate. So, can you share some of the experiences on how other departments or the board looks at the position of company secretary?
It is a high responsibility job. Uh, if I can just say something over here, the chief executive officer of one of the organizations I was working for said that the company secretary plays the role of a guardian of the organization.
Yeah.
These were the specific words which were used, because we are the ones protecting the company from a lot of or if I can just word it differently, by complying with the law, we are protecting the company and keeping it
Safe.
safe and viable and as a going concern, like I would say. These days, if there is any kind of a penalty which is quite high, it's a reputational loss to the company, which can other have, which can once again have other type of impacts. But pretty much the respect is there, the expectation is very high,
Mm.
and you are definitely seen as someone who is managing a very important role in the organization. At the end of the day, we are dealing with governance matters as well. So if we do our work well, if the company secretary team does a good job, the governance is actually stronger, because we also are the ones who play the role of informing the board that these are some of the governance measures which needs to be adopted by the board as per law. So if we do a good job, then there's a better governance process which is implemented in, like, in the organization. If you have a better governance process, that's only going to help, because if a company is run well, it will go far. And
So
so
CS can play a big role in running the company in the
absolutely,
right way and in the right direction.
absolutely. And we deal with so many stakeholders that governance, if you have the proper processes in place, then all this makes it, what do you say, it makes it like a well-oiled machine. The whole thing runs properly. So it's the job of the company secretary to ensure that it is protected from all angles, and the reputation is kept of the company. At no point of time is there any non-compliance. And once again, Alok, it's just not about company law here.
Exactly.
Company secretary also gets his hands on various other corporate laws. So it's ensuring that we are complying with those corporate laws as well. And if you are a listed entity, then of course your responsibilities are much higher, because you need to ensure that all the information which is expected to be disclosed on time are disclosed on time as per the requirements of SEBI. And you would just pretty much, yeah, I think it's ensuring the company is compliant. If it is compliant, the confidence of stakeholders is high, your like investor confidence is high, it's only going to help the company. So it is a big job we are playing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the larger point which Arjun is making is about good governance. Whether it is a government, whether it is a company, whether it is even a non-profit organization, the success of that depends on good governance. And I think what Arjun is sharing with us is that the CS can play a huge role and a pivotal role in the company to be on the right path of good governance and being very successful. So, Arjun, now with your present company, if you could just again share what is your the designation and the kind of KRAs which is expected of you, and are you the only company secretary there? Just a brief idea so that students will get an idea
Yeah,
that in a big corporate it is not just one.
sure. So Alok, as I said, I'm with Biocon Biologics Limited, which is part of the Biocon group of companies. I am a manager legal here. I look into corporate secretarial matters. We are a team of four company secretaries, where the main company secretary is also the general counsel of the company. Uh, the work here is of an unlisted company, like unlisted public company. That's the main work which I deal with. So we have the quarterly meetings, and in addition to that, we have meetings whenever there is an important business on hand to transact. Uh, we are in the pharma sector, in the pharmaceutical sector. So it's a sector which is again tightly regulated, and the partners, the customers expect a lot from a pharma company when it comes to compliance, because compliance is taken very strictly in a pharma company. So, like, immediately the responsibility on the secretarial team is very high to ensure that all the compliances are done well, and at no point of time are we exposing ourselves to any kind of penalty or anything. At the end of the day, the head company is a listed company. Biocon Limited is a listed company. So at no point of time should we also have any negative impact on the listed company, because it's part of the group. Work-wise, once again, a lot of the work is with respect to drafting of the agenda papers, taking the proceedings of the meeting, having the shareholders meetings, having committee meetings. So we have the audit committee here. We also have a risk management committee, which is not mandatory for us, but we still have it because Bicon looks into a lot of the takes governance very seriously and wants to be on top of things. So we have a risk management committee like over here as well. We have a corporate social responsibility committee, nomination and remuneration committee as well. So we need to ensure that all the items of business which needs to be transacted by these committees are being done. Preparing of the agenda papers, taking the proceedings of the meeting, drafting of the minutes, making the necessary filings with the ROC and the other concerned authorities. And that's, yeah, and of course during the annual report time, which will start now very soon, we'll be getting our hands on with respect to preparation of the draft of the notice of the annual general meeting, the board's report, and various other reports. So yeah, so it's the nature of work is with this what I have mentioned.
As you were telling about the nature of work and your role,
Yeah.
um, what do you have to tell students about doing CS and LLB together, and how has it helped you?
Yeah, it will definitely help. See, because it will let you take more assignments on hand, just not with respect to company law, but you can get yourself exposed in other areas of law as well. Like you can, like probably do some contracts, some commercial contracts, get your hands on that. Can do some IPR related work.
Or if you're in a pharma company, you may get opportunity with some of the pharmaceutical
Yeah.
laws, stuff
It
like that.
is possible. It is possible in a pharma sector that is quite a specialized field. But of course, I mean, it is possible. And so one thing I would really like to tell your viewers here is that don't. I mean, when you join a corporate, right? You it is up to you to grow. It is on you. It is entirely on you. You will need to approach the right people in your organization, saying that this is the kind of work I would like to take up, and if there is if there's any opportunity which comes up, I would love to be involved in that work. So it's really on you. You will have your role to play, which is the basic role that is expected out of you. But then if you have an interest in anything, and if you want to really go forward, you will just have to be that person there, taking up those assignments, discussing with your colleagues, researching the laws, discussing with consultants, and then doing it and ensuring it's delivered. So
So I think that's a
role can
very
be what
important
you
point,
want,
actually.
actually. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's a very important point because yes, we can pass the company secretary course, but that is just the starting point. Like Arjun is sharing, it all depends on how you use it and how hardworking you are, how creative you are, and it's up to you on what kind of responsibilities you want. And basically, in any corporate or even if you are in practice, if you show that you're interested and you're delivering, people will like to work and also give you different kinds of work. Coming to that, Arjun, as you were speaking, what I thought I should ask is about what are the some of the soft skills or other skills required apart from just knowing the law or company law,
Yeah.
since you work in a big corporate.
Yeah, that's a very good point you've made, Alok. It's just not about knowing the work, it's also managing and dealing with people, which is so important and that
Yeah.
can really like impact your work. I think one of the most important qualities is to have a listening skills. Like you need to listen to what your manager is expecting from you,
Mm.
listen to what your different departments rely on you for, or listen to your board of directors, what are they expecting. So I think listening skills are extremely important, because if you have a clarity on that, what is expected, only then you'll be able to do that as per the requirement and satisfy like all your stakeholders. The second thing is, I think you need to work in a large group and a multitask, in especially if you're dealing with a large organization where there are multiple departments and multiple stakeholders. It's about getting in touch with all these people and trying to get the right information from each of those departments and analyzing it, making a sense of it, and seeing how that impacts your work, as in the work of a company secretary. So I think
Connecting the dots.
it's about dealing with a diverse set of departments and coordinating with them. That also requires people skills, and it's about being patient as well. Not like work is such. Some days would be great, so some days would be good. Some days would be really tough, and when the tough days comes is when you need to keep your focus, your patience, and just be at it. Don't get too disturbed with what's happening around you, but just keep your focus and just try to just keep your focus, and you'll get the job done. I mean,
Yeah,
it's important to
definitely.
be
Your advice was not just for what happens at your job, but it was also sounding for me something like exam advice. Also, be patient, make sure that you work hard, and there'll be good days and bad days.
Yeah,
So I think
absolutely.
the
Yeah.
same thing applies over there.
And bad days are not bad. It's just that there are a few things you need
Challenging.
to get into order. That's it. Bad
Yeah.
days just means that you just need to get things back in order, and that's fine. Then you have your good days again. So,
So, what is the best part of being a CS according to you?
responsibility. I think the kind of work which we deal with, once you do a good job, and you know that has helped the organization, the satisfaction which you can derive from that is really nice. Like I said, being part of that process where placing all this information before the board of directors, trying to give them as much of relevant information for them to consider, and when they agree to that, when when things are passed and everything, and you're part of the transaction, you're part of that approval process, you there is a sense of satisfaction that you've been part of this. At the same time, ensuring that the company is compliant, and at the end of the year, when you have your appraisal process and you see that you've been compliant, and there's so much of like appreciation from the senior management and the board, saying that yes, you have like you have
Delivered.
complied, there's no penalty or anything like that.
Hmm.
The kind of satisfaction you get, that yes, I am in some way, I am playing a responsible role, an important role in protecting the company, keeping it safe, keeping it viable, keeping it going.
Yeah, so that also, like, I think our viewers should understand the unique role which a CS has. Of course, every profession has its unique role, but this is something that all of us should realize, that we are not just complying with the law or making sure the meetings happen on time or in the right order, but also, like Arjun brought the point, we are primarily protecting the company, making sure the company is in the right side of the law, and making sure the company is having the best governance. So, Arjun, here I have one very specific question. Since you have dealt with many companies in your days in the practicing CS firm, then you've been with a listed company. Now you're again with a very big group like Biocon. How do the top bosses, like the main, like the MD or the chairman or the chairperson of the company, how do they look at compliance, governance, or the role of CS? Like somebody like a Kiran Mazumdar Shah in a Biocon, or a Mukesh Ambani in Reliance, or in Subex, the top boss. What? How do they look at it? Because they have a huge influence even on policy and stuff like that in future.
So many large company or any company for that matter will take governance very seriously. It's as simple as that. Uh, no company would want to have a reputation loss, would want to face any type of penalties or non-compliances. It is taken seriously, as simple as that. I mean, it is taken very seriously.
Yeah, I think
Really
that's
summarize it, yeah.
really well told. So we just have another two, three questions, Arjun. So one is about now that you know that all of the big corporates take CS and the governance very seriously. You have told most of the things in your interview, and it's pretty obvious by now that how important the role of CS is in a corporate or in practice. But I need to ask, since lot of students have a wrong notion that there is not much scope for CS for some reason, I personally don't understand. There is a kind of message among students or some kind of grapevine going on that there's no scope for CS. What is your message for all the students who have this thought?
So my message over here is that grow yourself. Just ensure you are a competent professional, because it's not about CS, it's about like any profession. If you are competent, you will have a career, no matter what, whether you're a doctor or a lawyer or a CS or anything. The requirement is for competent professionals. So just ensure that you are keeping yourself like updated with the laws, you are growing yourself as a professional, you are dealing with various assignments and doing a good job with respect to those assignments. And once you get the confidence of your colleagues, of your seniors, you will, then there's no end to it, then you are just on the growth curve. So, to answer your question, Alok, I don't think it's profession specific. It's just you need to really be there. You need to be up to it.
True.
Yeah.
Exactly. So earlier also Arjun had brought this point, but again he's told us that it all depends on you and how well you do, and if you're competent, you'll definitely do really well in your career. So coming to our last question, Arjun, in this interview, um, what are the kind of future trends you see in the profession? Because we can see from us from 2000 to 2020 the profession has grown by leaps and bounds, and there's a huge opportunities, whether it is in practice or in corporate. The profession and the scope has widened. What do you see happening in the next 5 or 10 years? Because most of our audience are students who are doing the course now, and they'll be getting into the profession very soon.
So I see as a lot of promise. To be honest, I think there's a lot of promise in this profession. The Companies Act is a complex piece of legislature, so it needs specialists to interpret this law and to see like how it applies. So you need professionals in the organization to deal with this kind of law. Corporate law as such is like heavily regulated in India. So
Correct.
you need professionals who can ensure the company is complying with it. The company law is so vast and diverse that there are so many parts you can be a professional in, whether it's like insolvency, a professional, or maybe you can be a specialist in mergers and acquisitions. You can be a specialist in your like investments, like private placements, IPOs. You can be a specialist with respect to like employee matters, like employee stock options and everything, like advising people on that. So Promise is definitely there, and the good thing about India is that it's a growing country, it's a growing economy, and there's a lot of investment happening over here, a lot of corporates. So I don't see really any shortage of work or anything like that. But the only point again I would like to make over here is that it's the competency. That so I don't think there's any shortage of work for a competent professional. I think as simple as
Yeah,
that.
I think it's really nice that you brought the bigger points, things like that India is a growing economy and the company law itself is quite a complex piece of legislation. And what I found interesting is that many people say that you have to specialize in either company law or labor law or something else. But like you said, company law itself, you can specialize in 100 things within the law. And that is the
Absolutely.
depth at which the law is and the scope which you have. Even if you're the best, let's say in ESOP, there is so much you can advise, and there are so many corporates who take advice of senior company secretaries despite having a team inside because they just need that final expert opinion about certain matters. So there is a huge scope. So thanks a lot, Arjun, for sparing valuable time on
It's
a
my
weekend.
pleasure. It's
Thank
my
you so much
pleasure.
for joining us. I'm sure the students will love this interview. And if we need more of your time, we sure will disturb you.
Sure.
We'll request for
Anytime.
some more time,
Yeah.
maybe on some more specific topic or something like that.
I would really look forward to that, Alok, and I wish all your viewers very happy New Year, very happy 2021. Wishing them the best in their exams, in their professional pursuits, and just be positive and be focused and be on the right track. Everything will be fine.
Thank you. Thank you, Arjun.
Bye bye.